With Trey Jones signing a new 3-year contract with the Chicago Bulls, it's now left many to question, what is the future of the Bulls guard lineup? Is Ayo or Coby on their way out once Josh Giddey re-signs his new contract? We're going to talk about all that and more on tonight's Chicago Bulls Central. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get into this content for today. So most Bulls fans should know by now that Trey Jones signed a new 3-year, $24 million deal to stay with the Chicago Bulls, giving him an annual average salary of $8 million per year. This is a player that once Lonzo Ball was moved, that, a lot of people wanted to see the Chicago Bulls re-sign. So now with the Lonzo Ball signing, that basically means that Isaac Okoro and Trey Jones are both players that you were able to retain because Lonzo is no longer here. And we've already gone over the numbers. Trey Jones is a solid point guard. His ability to play between Josh Giddey and Coby White, play with either one of those guys, as well as run the offense without turning it over and being a decent enough scorer for his position as well, for his role as well. It's a really good signing for the Chicago Bulls. But naturally, it's left a lot of questions to be made. Now, there have been quite a bit of rumors surrounding the Chicago Bulls now from some Chicago pundits, some outside of Chicago, that with the Bulls now re-signing Trey Jones and Josh Giddey expected to re-sign, that is going to leave the Bulls to have to move one of their guards. The Bulls also now are back where they were last year at 14 guaranteed contracts. If Josh Giddey signs, that leaves you at 15 all guaranteed contracts, meaning you do not have the flexibility to move off of any guys, to waive any guys. You'd have to buy them out or eat the value of their contract, waive and stretch, something like that. So it's left a lot of conversation. Is Ayo Dosunmu, Coby White, is one of these guys now on the chopping block for the Chicago Bulls? And I have a bit of a different view. I want to be clear here, right? I'll get into the what's being reported, and then I'll get into my view. So what's being reported by, like I said, some inside pundits, some outside, is that one of Ayo Dosunmu or Coby White is going to be on the move. And it's common thought now, with, of course, having that many guards, that one of the guys is going to be gone, and the Chicago Bulls are going to move that. But for what right now, right? Whether there's draft compensation in the future, whether there's another future young asset, some future salary cap relief. And this is kind of all precedented by the fact that Coby and Ayo are both unrestricted free agents at the end of the season. Neither one of them are likely to sign an early contract extension because of the more money that they can both get by going into unrestricted free agency, which leaves the Bulls at a place to where they risk losing two valuable players to their team, and both could walk away for absolutely nothing, even though the Chicago Bulls will have the bird rights on those guys to be able to re-sign them for as much money as they can make anywhere else, and also go over the cap to be able to do so. And the Bulls have a lot of cap money next year as well. But that's now the thought, is that which one of these guys can be on the move? Casey Johnson said the chatter that he's heard more around Ayo Dosunmu's name than Coby White's with the people that he's talked to, and it is what it is when it comes down to that. But with Josh Giddey not signing yet on day one of free agency, which is, I will say this, a little bit different for the Chicago Bulls, right? Like, if you look at what the situation is now for the Bulls, by the Bulls waiting and not doing what they did with P. Will, hell, even with Coby and with Ayo and even with Nikola Vucevic, by not waiting, we're not signing them before free agency officially opens, the Bulls have now put themselves in a situation that a lot of Bulls fans were calling for. The Brooklyn Nets, the biggest threat to sign away Josh Giddey with the most cap space out on the market, are now down after their first day of free agency, down to $18 million roughly in cap space. That's not enough to re-sign Josh Giddey based off what it's reported that he does want. So they can get to $25 million by waiving some other contracts, things like that. So that's still the team that still has the biggest chance, right, as far as having open cap space. So what the Bulls' first order of business is now to re-sign Josh Giddey, right? And that money that they re-sign Josh Giddey to, whether they try to now actually negotiate and get it to around $25, $26 million, maybe they split the difference at 27. We'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow on tomorrow's full episode on what the future is going to hold for Josh Giddey and his contract. But the Bulls actually may be doing some negotiating here. And that negotiating, I don't know how much, they only have so much to hold over Josh Giddey's head. Really, it comes down to there's not that many teams to offer him any money, so the Bulls can come and say, listen, this is what's out there on the market. We're willing to give you a little bit more than that, but it's not going to be $30 million. And we'll see. I've been somebody that thinks that Josh Giddey was going to get the $30 million, but now looking at how this all shook out, maybe not. Now, I've said before, that's not always how negotiations go. Josh Giddey and his agency could come and say, this is the value that we hold here. We're already not asking for our max. So because of that, we're going to hold firm to it. And then it could leave in a situation where maybe it gets a little weird. I doubt it, but maybe it does, right? But then the next thing in the order of business is Coby White, Ayo Dosunmu. Now, here's my thought process on it, right? Looking at the Chicago Bulls roster, people say, well, the Bulls have too many guards. This may be the first year where the Bulls have the most balance on their roster, right? Out of just straightforward guards, Josh Giddey, Coby White, Tre Jones. Those are the three players that they're all basically just going to play guard. Yes, Coby White has played small forward in some lineups, but the majority of their minutes is going to be guard. You have Ayo Dosunmu, who's a 2/3. You got Modest Buzelis, who's a 3/4. You got Isaac Okoro, who's a 2-3 or 4. You got Kevin Huerter, 2 or 3. You got Patrick Williams on the bench, 3 or 4. You got Dalen Terry, 2-3. You got Julian Phillips, a 3 or 4. Right, so you have versatility throughout your guards all the way to your 4. Right now, let's look at the 5. We have more depth at the 5 than we've probably ever had. Vooch, Zach Collins, Jalen Smith. And I don't care what anybody's getting typed. Oh my God, Jalen isn't a center. Jalen has played 90% of his total NBA minutes at center. He's a center. You have that, right? So now you have that, center. The Bulls have more actual depth of players that can actually play, right? There are times, of course, we had Tony Bradley, but Tony Bradley sucked. Shout out to him for getting minutes in the NBA Finals. But you have more legitimate depth here now, right? And so what are you going to do? Even if you do trade Coby for a center, now you have 4 centers on your roster, so who's not playing there? If you trade Coby White for a forward, now you have, listen, I didn't even mention Noah Essengay in what I just said there in the forwards, so there you go on that one, right? So what are you doing there if that ends up being the case? So the argument that the Bulls have to do something for their glut at guard, I just can't follow that because we have balance and depth at just about every position. Now, we could talk about the quality of that depth, right, and how we feel about that depth. But at the end of the day, we know it's not that Billy Donovan is not going to play Nikola Vucevic. So there's the thing there. Now, reportedly as well, one of the Bulls' targets in free agency as far as potentially Jonathan Kuminga, him and the Warriors are now working on a deal reportedly to keep him in Golden State, which that would be just the funniest thing to happen if that's the way that all this shakes out. But the Bulls still need, it's still some clarity that could be done. I've talked a lot about it. The Bulls have trade exceptions, almost $20 million in trade exceptions, 2 different ones, one of 17, one of $3 million. They have tons of expiring contracts of almost $61 million in expiring contracts. They have that at their disposal. And so the Bulls have the mid-level exception. They were able to re-sign Tre Jones with bird rights, which means it still maintain their full mid-level exception. They still have that. The Bulls have assets right now, and this is something that I've said a lot over the last couple of days. They have assets to make moves happen. Now, how aggressive do they want to get at that? That's the question here. And as I've said to you guys before, and I know that we're going to see it, the comments, as we saw it earlier. Oh my God, why would we talk about trading Coby White? That's stupid. Listen, if you guys finally want, for those that complain that the Bulls don't make moves to value picks, guess what? You're not getting picks back for Patrick Williams. You're probably not getting picks back that are of value for Nikola Vucevic. So that means that if you want things back of value, right, you have to trade your good players. And the Bulls sit right now where they do have depth at every position of where you can start willing and dealing. Now, will they? That's the question that it all comes down to here. I don't really have a good feel on what it is because as much as I could talk about us having depth at every position, us having a glut of whatever position, this is Arturas Karnisovas that we're talking about. A GM that has never been afraid to run his team lopsided when it comes to position balance, right? So because of that, we can talk about all the logic in the world as far as what goes where and all this and how it pieces together. But unfortunately, as long as AK is running this team, it could really go any direction possible. So because of that, we just got to keep our eyes up. But the biggest questions now facing the Chicago Bulls remaining with after day one of free agency is A, what's going on with Josh Giddey's contract? Where's that coming in at next? Like, is that close? Are they far apart on the deal? Are they negotiating? What's going on with that? We shall see. And then, are there any moves coming to help this team? The Isaac Okoro move, people look at and say it was a punt. I'll give you that. Whatever you want to view it as, I'll give you that. But with all the assets that we just named that the Bulls have, is AK ready to get busy? Now, some could say that a lot of the moves to be done may have already been done on day one. Between that and the moves and trades that we saw leading into it, there have been a lot of moves to happen over the last couple of days. I don't even right now have a target list of players. Day'Ron Sharpe, gone, off the board, right? DeAndre Ayton is still on the board, but then again, does he fit in with what we have going on? That was a question we had yesterday. So there's a lot up in the air right now about what's going on with the Chicago Bulls. And to be honest with you, for the first time in a while, y'all, I feel like this. Either the Bulls are just going to re-sign Josh Giddey, go into the roster with basically the roster staying the same, minus Lonzo Ball and Talen Horton-Tucker, who've been replaced by Noah Essengay and Isaac Okoro, or the Bulls are going to actually start getting a little bit creative here. And I tell you what, I'm a look, not to say I'm scared, but I'm a little bit worried, because if AK tries to get to cooking, is he going to make the right decisions? Guess we should find out. But that's my time for tonight, man. Just wanted to give this. Y'all know usually when free agency stuff like this is going on, we have nightly episodes. So as long as there's something going on around the Bulls, you guys can expect that. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. BullsCentralPod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything basketball related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.